Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Welcome to session 1 of the Bhakti Sastri course. Last time, whatever we discussed was more of an introduction to the class, where we were setting the expectations from the participants, and we were also, of course, there are expectations from me as well. We discussed those also. Qualifications of the facilitator, qualification of the students. We discussed the aim of this course. I don't want to do an elaborate recap of what we did last time simply because it was more administrative in its nature. However, from the next class, we will spend around the first 5 to 7 minutes recapping what we did in the previous class, because Bhagavad-gītā will start. Children have to be kept quiet at all points in time. That is
So for this week, Asavari and Kavya Mataji. Yes.
Oh, very good. So Asavari Mataji and Kavya Mataji have volunteered to look after the kids. So if your child is such that you can leave the child with under their care, then we can ensure that we will have a class which has got zero disturbance from children, so that then we can concentrate. You can concentrate, I can concentrate. Otherwise, it will become very difficult in the class for everyone to hear. So the moment children become uncontrollable, please take them outside the class, and again, if not, please bring them inside the class. Also, I would like to reiterate the point which we mentioned last time, that those who are sitting in this room at this point in time, they are students who have registered for the Bhakti Sastri course. Those students who are sitting in this room at this point in time, they are all registered members of the Bhakti Sastri course. So if you have not registered, no problem, you can register today. If you don't want to register for this course, if you are not going to continue with us for the next 2 years, then it is better that, given that we are already 50 and there is a space constraint, then maybe you can look at attending some other program like that, if you are not going to be attending for 2 years. Of course, if someone is a relative of someone, let's say parents are visiting or brother or sister is visiting, that's fine, we can make that exception for this course. But otherwise, whoever is sitting in this room, we are assuming that you will be there for 2 full years committed to this program. Is anyone an exception to that rule here? Is there anyone who will not be here other than the relatives of somebody who is attending? Is there anyone in the room like that who will not be there? Alright. So I'm assuming that everyone here is going to attend this program full time for 2 years. So some of us have not attended the previous class. So please register with us at the end of this class, so that then we can make out copies for your handbook of the Bhakti Sastri course. Alright. So with that brief, we'll commence study of Bhagavad-gītā. Bhagavad-gītā ki Jai. So I presume that all of you have a copy of the Bhagavad-gītā with you.
No.
Is that a good assumption?
Put it in your pocket.
What is it?
Yeah.
So,
Record. Here. On your. Here.
Alright. So I'm assuming that all of you have a copy of Bhagavad-gītā with you. If you do not have Bhagavad-gītā copy with you, the recommendation is that please get a copy from next time to the class. Also, presume that all of you have notebooks and pens, and will be taking notes for the class. Matajis with children in their hands are accepted from this. So, but otherwise, please try to take notes so that whatever we discuss will stay with you for the rest of your life, and will also help you for your exams. So, we'll begin Srila Bhagavad-gītā study by reading the preface written by Srila Prabhupada. The preface is very, very important. The introduction thereafter is also very important, but in the interest of time, we wouldn't read the introduction in this classroom, but your but I am happy for you to read it outside the class. But the preface we will read here. So who would like to be our first reader in this program? Hemagori Mataji, would you like to read? Okay. So can you read loudly the first paragraph? Yeah. Preface.
Originally, I wrote Bhagavad-gītā as it is in the form in which it is presented now. When this book was first published, the original manuscript was unfortunately cut short to less than 400 pages, without illustrations and without explanation for most of the original verses of Srimad Bhagavad-gītā. In all of my other books, Srimad Bhagavatam, Sri Ishavanisa, etc., the system is that I gave the original verse, its English translation, word for word, Sanskrit, English equivalent, translation and purport. This makes the book very authentic and scholarly and makes the meaning self-evident. I was not very happy, therefore, when I had to minimize my original manuscript. But later on, when the demand for Bhagavad-gītā as it is considerably increased, I was requested by many scholars and devotees to present the book in its original form. Thus, the present attempt is to offer the original manuscript of this great book of knowledge with full parampara explanation in order to establish the Krishna Consciousness movement more soundly and progressively.
Thank you, Sachin, can you
Our Krishna Consciousness movement is genuine, historically authorized, natural and transcendental due to its being based on the Bhagavad-gītā as it is. It is gradually becoming the most popular movement in the entire world, especially amongst the younger generation. It's becoming more and more interesting to the older generation also. Older gentlemen are becoming interested, so much so that the fathers and grandfathers of my disciples are encouraging us by becoming life members to our great society, the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. In Los Angeles, many fathers and mothers used to come to me to express their feelings of gratitude for my leading the Krishna Consciousness movement throughout the entire world. Some of them said that it is greatly fortunate for the Americans that I have started the Krishna Consciousness movement in America. But actually, the original father of this movement is Lord Krishna himself. Since it started very long time ago, but it's coming down to the human society by disciplic succession. If I have any credit in this connection, it does not belong to me personally, but it is due to my eternal spiritual master, His Divine Grace Om Vishnupada Paramahamsa Charya 108 Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaja Prabhupada.
Thank you, Prabhu.
If personally I have any credit in this matter, it is only that I have tried to present Bhagavad-gītā as it is without any adulteration. Before my presentation of Bhagavad-gītā as it is, almost all the English editions of Bhagavad-gītā were introduced to fulfill someone's personal ambition. But our attempt in presenting Bhagavad-gītā as it is to present the mission of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Our business is to present the will of Krishna, not that of any mundane speculator like the politician, philosopher or scientist, for they have very little knowledge of Krishna despite all their other knowledge. When Krishna says, Man mana bhava, mad bhakto, mad yaji mam namaskru, Bhagavad-gītā 18.65, etc., we, unlike the so-called scholars, do not say that Krishna and his inner spirit are different. Krishna is absolute, and there is no difference between Krishna's name, Krishna's form, Krishna's qualities, Krishna's pastimes, etc. This absolute position of Krishna is difficult to understand for any person who is not a devotee of Krishna in the system of Parika or disciplic succession. Generally, the so-called scholars, politicians, philosophers, and swamis, without perfect knowledge of Krishna, try to banish or kill Krishna when writing commentary on Bhagavad-gītā. Such unauthorized commentary upon Bhagavad-gītā is known as Mayavada Bhashya, and Lord Chaitanya has warned us about these unauthorized men. Lord Chaitanya clearly says that anyone who tries to understand Bhagavad-gītā from the Mayavadi point of view will commit a great blunder. The result of such a blunder will be that the misguided student of Bhagavad-gītā will certainly be bewildered on the path of spiritual guidance and will not be able to go back to home, back to Godhead.
Our only purpose is to present this Bhagavad-gītā as it is, in order to guide the conditioned student to the same purpose for which Krishna descends to this planet, once in a day of Brahma, or every 8.6. The purpose is stated in the Bhagavad-gītā, and we have to accept it as it is. Otherwise, there is no point in trying to understand the Bhagavad-gītā and its speaker, Lord Krishna. Lord Krishna first spoke Bhagavad-gītā to the sun god some hundreds of millions of years ago. We have to accept this fact and thus understand the historical significance of Bhagavad-gītā without misinterpretation on the authority of Krishna. To interpret Bhagavad-gītā without any reference to the will of Krishna is the greatest offense. In order to save oneself from this offense, one has to understand the Lord as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as he was directly understood by Arjuna, Lord Krishna's first disciple. Such understanding of Bhagavad-gītā is really profitable and authorized for the welfare of the human society in fulfilling the mission of life.
The Krishna Conscious movement is essential in human society, for it offers the highest perfection of life. How this is so is explained fully in the Bhagavad-gītā. Unfortunately, mundane rankers have taken advantage of Bhagavad-gītā to push forward their demoniac propensities and mislead people regarding right understanding of the simple principles of life. Everyone should know how God or Krishna is great, and everyone should know the factual position of the living entities. Everyone should know that a living entity is eternally a servant, and that unless one serves Krishna, one has to serve illusion in different varieties of the three modes of material nature, and thus wander perpetually within the cycle of birth and death. Even the so-called liberated Mayavadi speculator has to undergo this process. This knowledge constitutes a great science, and each and every living being has to hear it for his own interest.
People in general, especially in this age of Kali, are enamored by the external energy of Krishna, and they wrongly think that by advancement of material comforts, every man will be happy. They have no knowledge that the material or external nature is very strong, for everyone is strongly bound by the stringent laws of material nature. The living entity is happily the part and parcel of the Lord, and thus his natural function is to render immediate service to the Lord. By the spell of illusion, one tries to be happy by serving his personal sense gratification in different forms, which will never make him happy. Instead of satisfying his own personal material senses, he has to satisfy the senses of the Lord. That is the highest perfection of life. The Lord wants this, and he demands it. One has to understand this central point of Bhagavad-gītā. Our Krishna Consciousness movement is teaching the whole world this central point. And because we are not polluting the theme of Bhagavad-gītā as it is, anyone seriously interested in deriving benefit by studying the Bhagavad-gītā must take help from Krishna Consciousness movement for practical understanding of Bhagavad-gītā under the direct guidance of the Lord. We hope, therefore, that people will derive the greatest benefit by studying Bhagavad-gītā as it is, as we have presented it here. And if even one man becomes a pure devotee of the Lord, we shall consider our attempt a success.
Yeah. So usually in this class we will not be reading this long purport, if you like, without discussion. But since it was a preface, we wanted to get that. That's why we read in one shot. Otherwise, we'll be reading paragraphs and discussing. Okay, so having read the preface, we will have a full class discussion on what are the points that struck you. What are the main points? What is Srila Prabhupada's mood in his preface? What are some of the main points that are coming across?
Prabhupada is not interested in quantity, he is interested in quality. The last sentence, even if one man becomes a pure devotee, he is considering that to be a success. So he wants to make pure devotees better.
Srila Prabhupada gives credit, all the credit to the spiritual master and Krishna, rather than his taking it away from himself. And the only credit that he takes is that he's present in Bhagavad-gītā without any other children, and present it as it is.
Any other points?
Yeah, Prabhupada would like to present Bhagavad-gītā as it is. Though there are a lot of books written on Bhagavad-gītā, translation written so far, but they are all with their personal motive. Whereas Prabhupada would like to present it as it is, saying that Krishna is supreme and willing to surrender to it.
Krishna has got senses, so instead of satisfying other senses, we should try to satisfy Krishna's senses.
Krishna is saying, Srila Prabhupada is saying that we need to consider the will of Krishna. So without considering the will of Krishna, if you try to understand the Bhagavad-gītā, we will not be able to come to the right conclusion.
So he also says that one should understand the Bhagavad-gītā as Arjuna understood it, how he, from the point of view of a disciple, and then
Krishna is the original father of our movement. So in other words, it's not man-made, Dharman tu Sakshat Bhagavad Pranita. It is made by God and not by men.
Krishna is the absolute truth. He is basically not different from his name, just what Krishna Prabhupada established.
Prabhupada writes very nicely in Preface why he is written Bhagavad-gītā, even though he has written it more than 400 pages, because of the demand. And then Prabhupada writes what should be the qualification of the student to understand Bhagavad-gītā. As you mentioned, one has to have a qualification of Arjuna to take the Lord's word as it is. And then why we need to read the Bhagavad-gītā, because we're all suffering and looking for that happiness of the senses instead of satisfying Krishna's happiness. So like any other Prabhupada writes, even if one reads only the preface and keeps the book down, the message has gone across in terms of what is the goal of life. Prabhupada has already mentioned that who is the Supreme Personality of Godhead and so on.
Prabhupada clearly, in the second paragraph, clearly established that we should not hear anything from Mayavadis.
Not the central point. Prabhupada speaks about hammering the Mayavadis throughout the Bhagavad-gītā.
He also specifically mentioned this knowledge is a great science and each and every living entity has to hear for his own interest.
Any other points?
He also mentioned that instead of satisfying own personal material, that one should satisfy the Lord as the highest perfection of life.
Okay. So, most of you covered a lot of points that Srila Prabhupada discusses, but here is a summary of from what I have studied from this preface. Maybe if there are some points that as collectively has not come up in the class, then you have to note them. Some of them have already been discussed. So the first thing that strikes is Srila Prabhupada's mood. Srila Prabhupada's mood is very evident in his preface. So directly he is writing to all of us. In one sense, Srila Prabhupada is taking a very 50,000 feet view. He is giving us the mood by which we can understand his mood. And whatever Srila Prabhupada is giving in the preface is something which is common, which is a common thread running throughout the Bhagavad-gītā. So Srila Prabhupada has not written the Bhagavad-gītā for prestige. So usually we find that in India there are so many people who have written commentaries on the Bhagavad-gītā. I remember that few years back when I was going to university, my uncle used to read Bhagavad-gītā by K.M. Munshi. There was an author like that. Of course he was not associated with any sampradaya whatsoever. So therefore, I saw that though he read that book, and he said it's very thrilling, the Bhagavad-gītā is very thrilling, he said. And he read it several times, but then he never started chanting after that. So that is a clear indication that scriptures which are given to us only by a pure devotee can have an impact in our lives, in terms of our sadhana, in terms of our seva, and in terms of our sadhana. Books written by poets, philosophers, politicians, sports personalities, right? Even everyone wants to write some book or the other. And Bhagavad-gītā is something which is a very catchy subject to write on. Anyone becomes popular by writing Bhagavad-gītā. But Srila Prabhupada, though he wrote one version of Bhagavad-gītā, and he already had his popularity at the end of the day, because the world would know that Srila Prabhupada wrote one Bhagavad-gītā, but he was not satisfied. He wrote yet again. So this shows that he has not written for prestige. Srila Prabhupada, I was hearing one class by His Holiness Bhakti Brihad Bhagavat Maharaj, who as I mentioned in the last class, he is our Bhakti Sastri Guru. We studied under him. So I was hearing his lecture, and he was mentioning the same point, that Srila Prabhupada was full of prema. When he wrote the Bhagavad-gītā, he was overflowing with prema in his heart for Lord Krishna. So whatever he wrote here, it's just the spillover from that mood, overflowing with prema. Like that. So he has, in every sentence virtually Krishna is there. Whereas if you see any other commentaries, in fact, he also mentioned that in one of the commentaries of the Mayavadas, there was no Krishna at all in the book. You can Google that, or you can put your Control F and search the entire Bhagavad-gītā, Krishna is not there anywhere. Whereas Krishna appears virtually in every statement, which means not even one sentence Srila Prabhupada forgot Krishna, because he was overflowing with that prema. So he said that every book of Srila Prabhupada is a manifestation of that overflowing of prema. And that's why Srila Prabhupada tried to improve on the original version. He was himself not feeling very satisfied with what he wrote. The other point that we see here is Lord Krishna and Lord Krishna's messages are attractive to all. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, we see a famous verse which is called as the Atma Rama verse. Atma Ramascha Munayo Nirgrandhya Virukrame Kurvanti Ahetutim Bhaktim Ittam Murmani. It was one of the favorite verses of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Krishna is Atma Rama. So it is mentioned that, Krishna attracts even the Atma Ramas. Krishna of course himself is Atma Rama, but Krishna attracts the Atma Ramas. He attracts those people who are full of material desires. He attracts those people who are devoid of any material desires. He attracts those people who have already attained liberation. That is the power of Lord Krishna. That is the attractive potency of Lord Krishna. That's why Krishna means all attractive. So if you see here, Srila Prabhupada writes that Krishna attracted not only the Western population, but he cut across genders and age groups. So Srila Prabhupada is writing in this preface that even the fathers of my disciples and mothers, they also got very attracted with the message, and therefore they have urged me to do more work in this area. So that is the power of Krishna's words, of the Vani, and coming through a pure devotee of the Lord. Also, Srila Prabhupada's humility is coming across very clearly, that he does not take any personal credit for writing this Bhagavad-gītā. And he says, as one of you mentioned very aptly, that if I have any credit in this matter, I have just tried to present it in an unadulterated form. Also, the primary mission of Srila Prabhupada, why did he write Bhagavad-gītā? If we have to sum up in one sentence, in 3 or 4 words, why did Srila Prabhupada write the Bhagavad-gītā? What is your understanding from the preface? Very briefly.
Re-establish the devotion.
to re-establish Dharma. Okay, any other views?
Promote Krishna consciousness.
To promote Krishna consciousness, you are almost there. Yes.
Present the will of Krishna.
Present the will of Krishna.
So basically, the last thing what Srila Prabhupada said was basically that even if one person becomes a devotee.
Correct. What does that mean? For becoming a devotee?
Surrender to Krishna.
Correct. Surrender to Krishna. So Srila Prabhupada, the whole purpose of writing the Bhagavad-gītā is to make mankind surrender to Krishna. The whole of mankind is such that nobody is surrendering to Krishna. There is a verse in Bhagavad-gītā itself, it says out of millions and millions of people, one person is interested in the absolute truth. And out of so many people that strive, most of them give up their efforts halfway. And one hardly attains me. Which means even after reading Bhagavad-gītā or Srila Prabhupada, for us it becomes very difficult to surrender. But that is the objective of Srila Prabhupada. That is the mission. That's why Bhurijan Prabhu, who is a disciple of Srila Prabhupada, very nicely titled his book as Surrender Unto Me. And that is a commentary on Bhagavad-gītā. So he has captured the essence. Otherwise, why would he title it as Surrender Unto Me? Because that is what Srila Prabhupada wanted by writing the Bhagavad-gītā. To make the whole world surrender to Lord Krishna. So he wrote the Bhagavad-gītā as it is. Also, he has given two purposes of writing the Bhagavad-gītā. These come across as secondary purposes. In the sense, not secondary purposes, these are purposes that serve the highest aim of making people surrender to Krishna. So in one sense, the aim is to make people surrender to Krishna, and there are some objectives that Srila Prabhupada is defining. One is that to defeat the bogus Mayavadis and the Jnanis translation. Just like a year or two ago, His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj, he wrote his treatise called as the Journey Home. Now why did he write that? Of course, he wrote that because he was a very close friend of His Holiness Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj. And Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj, during his disappearance pastime, he insisted Radhanath Swami Maharaj to write on his life story. So that was one purpose. But there was another purpose, that there is a very famous book called as Autobiography of a Yogi by Yogananda. Yogananda, yeah. So that book has captured the hearts of millions of people. Because it's very poetically written, it's got profound philosophy, and it has the power to attract the intellectual masses in society. So this book was a direct, of course, it was not presented as such, but yes, this book is a directly positioned against that book. That was also like a life story. This is also like a life story. While that life story ends in Mayavad philosophy, this life story goes through Mayavad philosophy amongst so many other philosophies that were existing, and then culminates in the lotus feet of Lord Krishna and Vrindavan. So Prabhupada wanted to also defeat, through his books, Prabhupada wanted to essentially defeat Mayavadi philosophy. The greatest mistake that the Mayavadis do is, wherever the word aham is used in Bhagavad-gītā, aham sarvasya prabho maktava sarvam pravartate, they always translate aham as the self. Whereas Srila Prabhupada translates aham as Krishna. Why not? Because Krishna spoke the Bhagavad-gītā. So when he is saying aham, he is directly referring to himself, which the Mayavadis have distorted. So their translation, while Krishna is saying everything emanates from me, the Mayavadi says that everything emanates from all of us. And but for obnoxious substances, what can something emanate from a conditioned soul? Nothing else can emanate. Right? So Srila Prabhupada wanted to cut this. Also, the Mayavadis minimize the position of Lord Krishna. And we have to understand this key difference upfront in the Bhagavad-gītā. The Mayavadis inadvertently may also mention Krishna, but they may mention Krishna as the manifestation of Brahman. While it may sound logical to someone who has got some understanding of Bhagavad-gītā, there is a small catch there. What they say is, Lord Krishna is another soul, just like All of us. And when that Lord Krishna comes in contact with the three modes of material nature, when Brahman comes in contact, actually we are all part and parcel of Brahman. So when that Supreme Brahman comes in contact with the three modes of material nature, then from there comes Krishna Rama. So that is the Mayavadi interpretation. That is what Prabhupada wanted to cut up front. Prabhupada said Krishna is the source of Brahman, which is also confirmed in Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam says the ultimate truth is understood in three stages: Brahman, Paramatma, Brahmeti, Paramatmeti, Bhagavaniti. So therefore, the Mayavadis, though they can write commentaries on Bhagavad-gītā, you will rarely find a Mayavadi commentary on Srimad Bhagavatam. Because Srila Prabhupada says, Mayavadis do not have access to Srimad Bhagavatam. It is impossible for a Mayavadi to write a commentary on Srimad Bhagavatam. They can still escape by writing on Bhagavad-gītā. So that is something which Srila Prabhupada really wanted to cut. So that is, Srila Prabhupada is already showing signs in his preface itself. Look, I am going to wage a war against your rascals, Mayavadis. He is already giving us that mood here. The other, so that is Jnanis on one hand. What about the Karmis? People who are working for sense gratification. So the purpose, Prabhupada is bringing out in the preface very clearly, the purpose of the Bhagavad-gītā is to remove the ignorance of Karmis, that they have to do so many philanthropic activities and other things. They have to please everyone in society, and that is the ultimate perfection of life. So Srila Prabhupada therefore mentions here in his preface that if Krishna is pleased, everyone is pleased. That is mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam. If you refer to Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 31, Text 4, 4.31.4, there is a verse which says, Yatha Taror Mula Nishechana. In that verse, Srila Prabhupada is mentioning that if you water the root of a tree, then automatically the nourishment goes to all the branches and the twigs. And if you put food in your stomach, that is enough to enliven all the senses and the limbs. So on one hand, Srila Prabhupada is countering the Jnanis and the Mayavadis. On the other hand, the purpose, another objective of Bhagavad-gītā is to let the Karmis know that, my dear Karmis, just because you are doing philanthropic activities and trying to please everyone in society, just simply because you are in the mode of goodness, that is not enough. That still doesn't mean that you are surrendered to Krishna. It still means that you are in the grip of the three modes of material nature. So Srila Prabhupada is addressing that also in the preface. Also, Srila Prabhupada is mentioning study of the Bhagavad-gītā. Srila Prabhupada is not saying reading of the Bhagavad-gītā. Srila Prabhupada is saying study of Bhagavad-gītā. Now what does the study of Bhagavad-gītā mean? What is the difference between reading Bhagavad-gītā and studying Bhagavad-gītā?
Studying is to understand. We say Adhyayana in Sanskrit. So basically to not only read, understand and also try to practically implement it, imbibe it.
Study means when you need a teacher and a student relationship, and also means that you study with other association.
That's point. Both of you are correct. So, study of Bhagavad-gītā is clearly explained in this book, which all of you are going to receive a copy of this today. Not all maybe. At least every family will receive one. And if there are, we have a shortage of 10 copies every week. So, you will get it in the next class. Or the class after that. But at least for a family you will have one. So, it is mentioned in the MIHE booklet that studying is different from simply reading. When you study, there are 12 aims that one has to keep in mind. These are called as the 12 aims of Shastric study. So, it is nice to by heart this. It's called as cup, fate and mass. Cup, fate, mass. If you by heart this, then you will be able to easily recollect what is the goal of Shastric study. So, the K in cup stands for knowledge. Knowledge involves memory and recall, which we will be doing in this class. So all of us will be getting verses that we have to by heart, along with the English translation. So that is knowledge, which is memory and recall. That's not enough, simply having that knowledge. one has to understand the context in which Lord Krishna is speaking that verse. So, for example, Patram Pushpam Phalam Toya, Yo Me Bhaktiya Prayachati. So Lord Krishna is saying that. So knowledge says that Krishna can be offered a fruit, a flower, water with devotion. But it doesn't mean that, oh, Lord Krishna wants fruit, flower, water. So I'll only offer one apple every day, along with some water and maybe one flower I will give him. And that's all. He'll be happy. That's all. Enough to make Krishna happy. He says that I am pleased with this much. Right? So on one hand the knowledge is there, but understanding is different. We have to understand the mood, the situation in which that verse is spoken. So what is in and around that verse that is building that verse on. So there is a specific context. So we have to look at the broader picture. So there is knowledge, then there is understanding. K and U. Then knowledge and understanding are not simply enough if we cannot apply it in our lives personally. So the P is what? Personal application. Not only personal application, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said that Bharata Bhumite Aila Manushya Janmaya Janma Sarthakari Kara, which means that not only it is sufficient for us to perfect our own lives, but it is very important to go out to the whole world and give Krishna consciousness. Okay, close the door. It's closed till now. It's to keep. Okay, so the second P is what? Preaching application. So knowledge, understanding, personal application and preaching application. Then the F stands for faith. And here in this book, it's nicely explained. To create learned Vaishnava theologians who are expert in assisting society through application of Shastric knowledge to a wide range of personal, social, moral, topical and theological issues. So, all the other things, faith, authority, theological application, evaluation, mood and mission, right? Academic and moral integrity, responsibility for learning and Shastra Chakshus. They are all mentioned in your handbook. We don't want to go through all of them in great detail now, otherwise we will miss the verses of Bhagavad-gītā today. So I request all of you, I have given you the 4 most important ones, which is cup. At least we should start with cup at this point in time initially. So any purport that we are reading, we must wear the lens of knowledge, understanding, personal application and preaching application. So if we keep that lens in our eyes and then read Srila Prabhupada's purport, then we will be able to decipher many more meanings what Srila Prabhupada is writing than if we were to simply read it on the surface and say that, Prabhuji, I have finished my Bhagavad-gītā. I have finished reading all the 18 chapters. It doesn't make any sense if we have not done it this way. In fact, a few days back, last year, I was also asked by one of the devotees who has been mentoring me for quite some time, a few years. So he asked me, are you taking shelter of Srila Prabhupada's books? I said, yes, I am studying Srila Prabhupada's books. And I cup, fate, mass, etc. But he said, are you taking shelter of Srila Prabhupada's books? I didn't ask you if you are studying Srila Prabhupada's books. I said, what do you mean by that? He said, taking shelter of Srila Prabhupada's books means that whatever decisions that we take in our life are based completely on the guidelines that are given by Srila Prabhupada. That is the difference again, in terms of taking shelter of Srila Prabhupada. Whatever situations that we face in life, for example, we may face a situation even amongst devotees that some devotee is irritating us all the time. It is quite possible, is it not? Some devotee is getting on our nerves all the time, right? So then how do we deal with that situation? So if we take shelter of Srila Prabhupada's books, then those books will give us a guideline as to how we must act. So in terms of building our own value systems, in terms of being proactive. Proactive means what? Proactive means controlling our response to any situation. We are in control of the situation. Situation is not in control of us. So these are the things which one should look for when one is reading, one is deeply immersed in Srila Prabhupada's books. How can I apply it in my life? How can I use Srila Prabhupada's books as a guiding factor, as a reference point, as a Bible for all the decisions that I make in my life, for all the interactions that I have with devotees. So that is truly taking shelter of Srila Prabhupada's books. So that completes the preface part. Now we'll go ahead and start the verse 1. So introduction you can read it outside the class because it's quite lengthy. Otherwise we'll spend 2 months in the introduction itself. Wait after the class. Okay. So in the Bhagavad-gītā, if you see in page number 31, if you have this copy, Srila Prabhupada mentions the disciplic succession starting from Krishna. So it's worthwhile remembering this disciplic succession. Of course, you will not get this in the exam, you will not ask you to write all this. But it's worthwhile just having a look and seeing some names which are appearing here. So, but please bear in mind that this disciplic succession is not a Diksha lineage. There has been quite some controversy. You may find that ISKCON is going through, sometimes we go through a lot of bad, today also we are, even in today's time we are going through a bad period where the Ritviks are constantly hammering us for every single thing. One of the, and the Ritviks as well as the non-Ritvik community, if you like, the rest of the world. So when in 2002, when I was trying to build my faith in Srila Prabhupada's books, 2001, 2002, like that, so I read a lot of, I used to go to the internet, generally surfing around, trying to find something controversial that will titillate my senses. So during those days, I chanced upon this saying that, oh, this ISKCON lineage is not bona fide. So this is not this person was not Diksha Guru of this person was not Diksha Guru of this person. So then obviously, I consulted some devotees and they told me that ISKCON is primarily, the focus is a Siksha lineage. It's not a Diksha lineage. We will talk more about that when we come to the later chapters. But please understand that this is not a Diksha lineage. So if you think it's a Diksha lineage, please remove it from your right. Otherwise, somebody will ask you and then they'll tell you that it's not a Diksha lineage and you might think that, oh, then why is it here like that? Is it bona fide or not? It is a Siksha lineage. Our whole movement has got more emphasis on Siksha than Diksha. Which also means that while yes, Diksha is a very important part in our life, we don't give Diksha more importance than what it deserves. Otherwise, what could happen if we give too much importance to Diksha, then we will forget Srila Prabhupada's mission and we will start forming Guru camps. Right? My Guru, my God brothers, so that kind of and that is not very healthy for the community. Rather, a healthy community is one wherein the disciples of one spiritual master are serving some other spiritual master. That is a very healthy community. Right? Rather than having factions and infights. Is your Guru Maharaj more powerful or my Guru Maharaj is more powerful? Okay. So therefore, this emphasis on, too much emphasis on Diksha can also create problems in the movement. So we have to really understand that our movement is basically a Shiksha lineage. And even if you see the lineage ahead of Srila Prabhupada, of course Srila Prabhupada was initiated by Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, but if you go ahead, you may find that not necessarily the person ahead of one Guru is the Diksha Guru of that person. So please remember that.
Bhaktivedanta was the Siksha Guru.
Bhaktivedanta Thakur was the Siksha Guru of Bhaktivedanta Saraswati. Yeah. So you have to understand this lineage in that context. Coming to chapter 1. Now just before coming to chapter 1, I wanted to just give you this overview that what we are going to be embarking upon now is a study of section 1, which covers verses 1.1 to verses 1.27. Are you able to see the board? 1.1 to verses 1.27. Now that is broken up into 3 sections. This whole section 1 introduction. The first part is called as preparation for war, which is section 1.1 to 1.11, which we will do today. The other one, the section part B subsection is called as signs of victory of Pandavas, which goes from 12th on to the 20th chapter, which we will discuss in the next class, and that would be your reading homework, reading assignment for the next 12 to 20. Signs of victory of Pandavas. And the third is Krishna as Bhakta Vatsala. What do you mean by Bhakta Vatsala? Protector of his devotee. So Krishna as Bhakta Vatsala, 21 to 27. That we will see in the following class. So today we will start with preparation for war. So verse number 1. Dhritarashtra said, O Sanjaya, after my sons and the sons of Pandu assembled in the place of pilgrimage at Kurukshetra, desiring to fight, what did they do?
Yep. Bhagavad-gītā is widely read theistic science summarized in the Gita Mahatmya, glorification of the Gita. There it says that one should read Bhagavad-gītā very scrutinizingly with the help of a person who is a devotee of Sri Krishna and try to understand it without personally motivated interpretations. The example of clear understanding is there in the Bhagavad-gītā itself. In this way, the teachings is understood by Arjuna, who heard the Gita directly from the Lord. If someone is fortunate enough to understand Bhagavad-gītā in that line of disciplic succession without motivated interpretations, then he surpasses all studies of the Vedic wisdom. And all the scriptures of the world, one will find in the Bhagavad-gītā all that is contained in other scriptures. But the reader will also find things which are not to be found elsewhere. That is the specific understanding of the Gita, the standard of the Gita. It is the perfect theistic science because it is directly spoken by Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna.
The topics discussed by Dhritarashtra and Sanjaya is described in the Mahabharata form the basic principle for this great philosophy. It is understood that this philosophy evolved on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, which is a sacred place of pilgrimage from the immemorial time of the Vedic age. It was spoken by the Lord when he was present personally on this planet for the guidance of the mankind.
The word Dharmakshetra, a place where religious rituals are performed, is significant because on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, the Supreme Personality of Godhead was present on the side of Arjuna. Dhritarashtra, the father of the Kurus, was highly doubtful about the possibility of his son's ultimate victory. In his doubt, he inquired from his secretary Sanjaya what did they do. He was confident that both his sons and the sons of his younger brother Pandu were assembled in that field of Kurukshetra for a determined engagement of the war. Still, his inquiry is significant. He did not want a compromise between the cousins and brothers, and he wanted to be sure of the fate of his sons on the battlefield. Because the battle was arranged to be fought at Kurukshetra, which is mentioned elsewhere in the Vedas as a place of worship, even for the denizens of the heavens, Dhritarashtra became very fearful about the influence of the holy place on the outcome of the battle. He knew very well that this would influence Arjuna and the sons of Pandu favorably, because by nature they were all virtuous. Sanjaya was a student of Vyasa, and therefore by the mercy of Vyasa, Sanjaya was able to envision the battlefield of Kurukshetra even while he was in the room of Dhritarashtra. And so Dhritarashtra asked him about the situation on the battlefield.
Yeah, both the Pandavas and the sons of Dhritarashtra belong to the same family. But Dhritarashtra's mind is disclosed herein. He deliberately claimed only his sons as Kurus, and he separated the sons of Pandu from the family heritage. One can thus understand the specific position of Dhritarashtra in his relationship with his nephews, the sons of Pandu. As in the paddy field, the unnecessary plants are taken out, so it is expected from the very beginning of these topics that in the religious field of Kurukshetra, where the father of the religion, Sri Krishna, was present, the unwanted plants like Dhritarashtra's son, Duryodhana and others would be wiped out, and the thoroughly religious persons, headed by Yudhishthira, would be established by the Lord. This is the significance of the word Dharmakshetre and Kurukshetre, apart from the historical and Vedic importance.
What are the points here?
Holy place of pilgrimage influences the mood, or it's like it influences if a pious person, then it increases their piety. Generally has influence on it.
Very good point.
One should read Bhagavad-gītā, scrutinizing the work of a devotee.
And Prabhu, in the first paragraph itself, the first verse itself, there are two projects mentioned very clearly, like Dharmakshetra and Kurukshetra. And the other one is Samaveta Yutsava. Samaveta is assembled. Generally, assemble is for a positive or good deed, but here it's Yutsava, that is for the battle. So they are getting together, but for the battle. And the third line says Mamakaha Pandavasyeva. Like he separates my people and the others. So like there are so many opposites in this. And Prabhupada very clearly says that in the very first paragraph itself, the Pandavas are virtuous by birth and victory is mostly on their side, and because it's supported by Krishna.
Any other points?
Both Pandavas and Kurus belong, both Pandavas and Kauravas actually belong to the same dynasty, but the Dhritarashtra mentions his sons as Kurus and the sons of his brother as Pandavas. Right? So even though they belong to the same dynasty, that shows the mood of Dhritarashtra.
Very, very good.
In one of the retreats that I attended, and I was kind of new to Krishna Consciousness at that time, Devamitra Maharaj put Base 1 on the whiteboard, and it was a retreat mainly attended by the Indian students. And this is the base that he put after that Base 1. And that is this is his base actually, and this is what he has to say. So if you can listen carefully, see if you can find the fun part of this. He says, "My grandfather in India said, O Sanjaya, after my sons and the sons of other Indian overseas students assembled at the place of passion, the University of Melbourne, desiring to make money and enjoy, what did they do?" So he put the two verses side by side. It was quite actually humorous at that point in time.
Yes, Raja, your point. Any other points?
So power of Sanjaya, where he was sitting remotely, both of them were sitting remotely in some other place, but because of his guru being Vyasa, he has the power to live telecast what's happening on the battlefield.
I was listening to one of the lecture project. The trash was very worried because this is a Dharmakshetra, and because it's called as Dharmakshetra because Lord Parshuram, he went there after killing all the Kshatriyas 21 generations and for his atonement, and that's why it has a spiritual potency and power. And that's why any deed or any activity done on the Kurukshetra will always benefit the person who is actually pious.
Yeah, but one thing that this is the Dharmakshetra. So the Kurukshetra, what is taken in the place where is called Dharmakshetra. So what explains that in comparing with the paddy field, where the crops should be free from weeds. So this means that there are the weeds are always there in the field, but they have to be taken out. So since it's a Dharmakshetra, that will be done sure by the Dharmakshetra.
So it says that Krishna, who is the father of religion, is personally there orchestrating the war. So it is his desire which is happening.
Okay. Alright. So, Srila Prabhupada mentions Bhagavad-gītā is the widely read theistic science summarized in the Gita Mahatmya. So, this Gita Mahatmya essentially is a conversation between Shiva and Parvati. So what is the context of this Gita Mahatmya? This Gita Mahatmya is a conversation where Parvati is asking Lord Shiva, you have told me so many things about Lord Krishna that I am feeling a lot of attraction to hear more and more about him. So I have heard now about him. Now can you tell me about his teachings? So what is the book which is about Lord Krishna? Srimad Bhagavatam. What is the book which is the teachings of Lord Krishna? Bhagavad-gītā. So she is saying that can you please tell me about the teachings of Lord Krishna? She is asking Shiva. And in response to that, Lord Shiva is mentioning a pastime where Lakshmi is massaging the feet of Lord Narayana, and they are having a conversation where Lakshmi ji is asking Lord Narayana that I am just bewildered by your potencies. You are sleeping here in front of me like this and you are managing the whole universe. It is just inconceivable for me. And you know everything, you are all knowing. Sitting here in the on the other side of the Viraja river, then on the spiritual threshold, then you are able to manage everything. So what kind of energy is this? So Lord Vishnu is saying that yes, even my own energy is very amazing to me. So then Lakshmi is asking him, then how will we understand your energies? So Lord Krishna Lord Narayana is answering that for that one must understand the Bhagavad-gītā and the power of the first chapter of Bhagavad-gītā. What is the potency, what is the power of studying the first chapter, which all of us are going to do in this room? What is the power, he says. So for that, before he mentions the pastime, he mentions that the Bhagavad-gītā has got 18 chapters altogether. And Lord Narayana is saying, the first 5 chapters are my head. They represent my head. The next 10 chapters represent my arms. The 16th chapter represents my stomach. And the last 2 chapters represent my lotus feet. So that's what he mentions. And then he goes on to tell her the power of studying the first chapter of Bhagavad-gītā in the Gita Maharaj. So he narrates a pastime of a person by the name Susharma. The Susharma, he was born in a Brahmana family, but he was highly sinful, pretty much like Ajamila, who we study about in the 6th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Susharma was very sinful. Now as a result of his sins, Susharma in the next lifetime got the birth of a bull, and he had to do lot of intense labor. So one day Susharma was carrying the load which was given by his master, and his master was going on increasing the load on his head, like sometimes in office, our boss increases. So like that load was going higher and higher and higher, and Susharma could not take the load and he collapsed. And he had died, he was leaving his body. Now at that time so many people assembled near Susharma, who was now in a bull form. And then out of many people who assembled, there was one prostitute who was near Susharma, near the bull, and who felt a lot of compassion for the bull and said, oh, he is suffering so much, this bull is suffering so much, let me offer my pious credits if I have done any to this bull. Now what happened was, he was very sinful, then he had the life of a bull. So obviously, he has to evolve through so many species. But in the next lifetime, he suddenly found that he had a human body again. Not only that, but he got birth in the house of a very elevated Brahmana. Now where did he get the credits from? So he was thinking about that. So somehow, he got the knowledge by Krishna's mercy. He remembered his past life, and then he knew that this prostitute had given some pious credits to him. So he searched here and there, and he finally happened to meet this prostitute. And he went and asked her, thank you very much. I know that it is because of you that I have got another human form of life, that to birth in a Brahmana family. Okay? That to birth in a Brahmana family. So, what did you do? What did you chant? So that then I am able to get this birth in a Brahmana family. So the prostitute mentioned that actually I have a parrot in my house, and that parrot every day recites something. I don't know what exactly it says, but it keeps on reciting this, and over a period of time, I have grown to just know by heart what it is reciting, but I really don't understand the significance of what it is saying. So, he says that, okay, let us go and meet this parrot. So they take them to the parrot, and the parrot reveals that in the past lifetime, the parrot was also very sinful. Parrot was also born in a Brahmana family, and parrot was extremely sinful, and therefore what happened was, in this lifetime it lost its human form and then became a parrot. Now this parrot one day was lying in the hot sands, and what happened was, some sages who were visiting through where the parrot was lying, they took pity on the parrot and then they took them to their ashram. In that ashram, the parrot was kept in a cage. And what happened was, every day the students of the sages, they used to sit there and recite the first chapter of Bhagavad-gītā. So by such recitation, the parrot then came to know of the Bhagavad-gītā. And then to the parent, then what happened was, one day a thief came and stole the parrot from the sages, and then he sold it to the prostitute. Thus the prostitute heard the Bhagavad-gītā. She didn't even understand the meaning of anything what the parrot was saying, and then she gave all the pious credits to the bull who was Susharma. So can you imagine? Srila Prabhupada says that this is the power of studying the first chapter of Bhagavad-gītā. What to speak of studying the first chapter of Bhagavad-gītā? Even if one recites without studying just the verses of the first chapter of Bhagavad-gītā, his liberation is guaranteed. What to speak of the entire chapter? Even one verse of the first chapter of Bhagavad-gītā is enough to guarantee liberation. That's what Srila Prabhupada says. So, this, if you like, is the Phalashruti. So, Gita Mahatmya at the end of this narration gives us the Phalashruti. What is Phalashruti? The benefit of fruit of hearing something. That's called as Phalashruti. So, the Phalashruti of the first chapter is what? It will help one cross over the ocean of material miseries and attains service unto Lord Krishna. So, if we find that our services are increasing, please understand that we have been studying the first chapter of Bhagavad-gītā very seriously. Then Srila Prabhupada further, from his purports, we understand that we have to scrutinizingly study the Bhagavad-gītā. Srila Prabhupada makes that point in his purport, and we also understand what is scrutinizing study. Cook, fate and cup, fate and Mars. That is scrutinizing study. Always keeping these aims and objectives in mind. Because the Bhagavad-gītā is mentioned as the sum of Vedic wisdom. It is also called as Gita-upanishad. Adi Shankara also mentions in his song Bhaja Govinda. There is a one. Adi Shankara is actually, the head of the Mayavadis, but actually he himself was not a Mayavadi. Srila Prabhupada writes that he was a covered personalist in his purports. Who is Adi Shankara? Adi Shankara is none other than Lord Shiva, who tells Parvati, I am going to go down and perform this pastime of spreading Mayavadam Asat Shastra. I am going to give a bewildering philosophy just to keep the atheists and rascals away from devotional life. So Adi Shankara is not an ordinary person. So this Adi Shankara, when he wrote his final song, which is called as Bhaja Govinda, what did he say in the Bhaja Govinda? He said, Bhagavad-gītā kinchita dita, Ganga janalava kanika pita, Sakradapi yena murari samarcha, kriyate tas yamanena charcha. So Bhagavad-gītā kinchita dita, even little bit of Bhagavad-gītā, if one reads, then what happens? Yamanena charcha. At the end of this lifetime, certainly Lord Yamaraj will not come. So one benefit of studying the first chapter of Bhagavad-gītā is, immediately the benefit is, we have nothing to do with Yamaraj. No. So that is Phalashruti. Then the importance of hearing through disciplic succession. That's another point that is coming across in Srila Prabhupada's purports. So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Mayavada Bhashya Sunile Haya Sarvanash. So we don't hear commentaries written by Mayavadis. It has to be from a disciplic succession. No reading Bhagavad-gītā from poets, philosophers, etc. etc. Famous personalities. Just because the material world has given them a big tag. The next point that is coming across is about Dhritarashtra's fear. Why was Dhritarashtra fearful in the battlefield of Kurukshetra? So it is mentioned that Kurukshetra is Dharma Kshetra. In the Dharma Kshetra, as Sachin Prabhu was saying, the influence of Holy Dham is there. Now what is the influence of a Holy Dham? The Holy Dham always favors the virtuous and it does not favor the sinful people. In fact, it is said that if even a sinful person goes to the Holy Dham, like Vrindavan, and he does one good thing, it is multiplied many thousand times. But what to speak of, sin? Even if we do aparad, one aparad, then that is also multiplied by 10,000 times. Sin and aparad are different. Sin is, what is the difference between sin and aparad? Sin is papam. Papam is different from aparad. Aparad is that it is not pleasing to Radharani. That is aparad. And sin is papam. For example, eating meat, drinking liquor, these come under the category of sin. And aparad, what comes under aparad? We know the 10 offences to the holy name. That is nam aparad, blaspheming devotees, right? So it is, which is easier to control? Sin is easier, much easily controlled. Aparad is more difficult. That's why I said what to speak of aparad and then even sin that way. So in the holy dham, sin is also a problem and aparad is also a problem. It is multiplied many thousand times. But if we do one good activity in the holy dham, that also gets magnified many fold. So Dhritarashtra was fearful because this holy dham has this potency. If you do anything wrong, then the result is terrible. Also, for a devotee, why do we go every year to Mayapur or Vrindavan? The holy dham has a power to influence our consciousness, to purify our consciousness. Now, as a result of that purification, when we come back from the yatra, we feel highly renounced from the world. Till we go back to office on Monday, and then after 2 weeks, then we have to think, oh, was I in the yatra? How good Radha Kund was. Slowly, it fades away from our memories. All that Mayapur, Radha Kund, everything. Again, we are back into this. Like that. Okay. So that is like. So Dhritarashtra knew that they are in a holy place. So he was thinking that, oh, this is interesting because the Pandavas' consciousness may get altered, they may develop that detachment which we develop, and then therefore they will give the kingdom without any fight. So my son will become king. So that is his thinking. So Dharma Kshetre, Kurukshetre. Also, he did not want any compromise. He thought that even his own son, Duryodhana, the holy dham may also affect his consciousness, so he may also develop some kind of a detachment and therefore he may end up compromising something. So he was very afraid of the influence of the holy dham. Now, where did this fear come to Dhritarashtra? This fear came from his attachment to his body, attachment to continued sense gratification. In fact, even after the battlefield of Kurukshetra, when all his children were killed by the Pandavas, just imagine, he was under the care of the Pandavas. Now, if someone kills our child, will we go and live in that person's house? That's the last thing that we will think. But Dhritarashtra was so shameless that he continued like that. So you can imagine his situation, completely blind, materially as well as spiritually blind. Like that. So the other point, reason why Duryodhana was very fearful is because Lord Krishna was personally present on the side of the Pandavas. So wherever Lord Krishna is present, victory is assured. So he, in one sense, he already knew that this is a lost cause. But still he was trying to find out if there is some compromise that can happen. Pandava's mind may change. So he was undergoing all these emotions. Now, as he was undergoing, he used the word Mamaka Pandavaschaiva. Hima Purvata. So he used the word Mamaka. So his mind is revealed here. As Prabhu pointed out, his mood is revealed here. His mood is one of acceptance and rejection. He is accepting the Kauravas as his own children and he is rejecting the Pandavas. So this acceptance and rejection is a function of the conditioned mind. For all of us also, this plays havoc within our mind. We accept some devotees as our friends and we reject some devotees saying that I don't want anything to do with that. Better stay away from that. So we are all having that. To the extent that we do that, we are all having Dhritarashtra consciousness. Whereas a Mahatma is one who sees everyone equal to himself. So this bias which Dhritarashtra is having, this bias is the reason why relationships are destroyed. So he is not able to show any affection or feel any love or affection for the Pandavas here. Now, also a point comes that how was Sanjaya able to witness the battlefield of Kurukshetra? So here the understanding for us is that Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya. So by the mercy of a spiritual master, one can get the vision which ordinarily one cannot otherwise get. So it is mentioned that Sanjaya was at least Vyasadeva. So Vyasadeva, out of his mercy, had given him this divine drishti. So that is another point that is coming across here. So the mercy or desire of a pure devotee can empower one beyond one's ability. Just for example, Srila Prabhupada was highly empowered because he had a genuine desire to fulfill the mission of Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. So despite several challenges that Srila Prabhupada faced, somehow Srila Prabhupada always emerged victorious because he had the full blessings and mercy of a pure devotee and his Guru Maharaj. Finally, it is mentioned that Lord Krishna removes all the unwanted plants. So the paddy field example is given here. Just like in a paddy field, you remove all the unnecessary weeds. So similarly, Krishna as the father of religion is using this religious field called as Dharma Kshetra or Kurukshetra, and he wants to remove all these nonsense personalities like Duryodhana and Dushasana out. He wants to weed all these people. So these are the points that are coming out in text 1. We will go to text 2 now. Sanjaya said, O king, after, sorry. Yeah.
Why you asking Sanjaya what are they doing? Because they already know that they are fighting. They assemble there to fight. But why is he asking what they are doing?
Yeah, as I said before, he is asking this question because he is very eager to know whether any compromise is happening there. Whether everything is okay. Is there something that is giving a greater chance of kingdom for his sons? So he is very anxious. For example, in office, when we have a peer and the big boss is visiting, and then he is taking our peer away, and then we are always in anxiety. What boss is speaking with him here? Like that. Because there is attachment to the fruits of our activities, and we want to know whether boss is favoring somebody else there, like that. So he has got this anxiety, attachment to the results. So he is thinking like that.
Silly question, Prabhuji. Like Prabhupada is telling my 2 sons and sons of Pandava.
Who say?
Prabhupada is telling in that purport. So only 2 sons were in the battlefield, or rest of the 98?
2 sons.
My sons.
No, my 2 sons and sons of Pandava is there.
Where is that?
It's here, Prabhuji.
No, after my sons.
See, like he was confident that both his sons.
No. Both refers to
His and
both is not his sons.
Oh yeah, or like.
You mentioned that we shouldn't be having Dhritarashtra mentality, accepting some and rejecting some devotees. So, but we have to be like a Mahatma who has an equal vision. But we cannot adapt that right from the beginning. Should that be our aim? But in the beginning, when we are cultivating our devotional service, we have to guard ourselves from devotees who can hamper our devotional service.
Correct.
What is that?
Yeah, so the guideline is very clearly given in Srimad Bhagavatam, Prema Maitri Kripa Upeksha Yakurati Samadhyama. So, when a person, transcending oneself from the Kanishta platform to the Madhyamadhikari means that one has to develop prema towards spiritual master, one has to develop maitri towards people who are equal, and then one has to give shelter to people who are lesser than us, and one has to reject those people who are not interested in Krishna consciousness. However, the characteristics of Uttamadhikari is what? Pandita Samadarshana. They see everyone as equal. So yes, while to transcend from the Kanishta to the Madhyama platform, since our own faith is little, not as pakka as the Uttamadhikari, we will have to little bit exercise that discretion in relationships. So we should not try and prematurely try to project that we are some Mahatma, no, we are Samadarshi. We are not actually. We have likes and dislikes. We like some devotees, we dislike some devotees. So the point is to cultivate that Samadarshi through our sadhana, rather than trying to artificially impose on our mind. Because though we may then extend ourselves to that devotee may put us off further, and then that will further agitate us, saying that I went with lot of humility, Prabhu, but that fellow, he is just behaved like that. So we are not ready to that for that position. So that is a gradual process which has to happen from the inside. It cannot be imposed from the outside like that. But still, there is Vaishnava etiquette. That is why Vaishnava etiquette maneuver is there. So till the time that natural relationship doesn't come, then we are supposed to follow etiquette. Just like for example, if it's a friend of yours, if you are having a very close relationship with somebody in the congregation, all of us may have our best friends, right? So you have a close relationship. So you don't say, Hare Bol Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam Prabhu. Will you greet that person like that? No. You will just look at that person and you may just blast that person. No, you may talk like that with that person. Which means there is a very close relationship, isn't it? Whereas if you don't have that relationship, then you will be very, Hare Bol Mataji, Hare Bol Prabhuji, like that. It will be formal. But when the ice breaks, when you understand one another, then there is no need for that formality. You don't even have to call that person Prabhu. It is said that we have to call Prabhu. But at some point in time, you don't have to call that person Prabhu also. Of course, it doesn't mean that you ride over that person and use that person because it's close to you. It doesn't mean like that. But please understand that the mood of Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti and the mood of Raganuga is very different. Radharani does not call Krishna, oh my dear Supreme Personality of Godhead, oh Narayana. He doesn't talk like that. She says, you black man, you'll get lost from here. I don't want to see your face. But obviously she has got that purity to be able to do that, right? But if you take an example, shadow, so in our congregation we may have relationships like that with some devotees. So there has to be etiquette. Etiquette is required where the relationship has not really matured. But after that point in time, then more than etiquette, it is the love automatically will manifest. Okay, we'll go further because then to keep the time. Sanjaya said, O king, after looking over the army arranged in military formation by the sons of Pandu, King Duryodhana went to his teacher and spoke the following words. You want to read?
Dhritarashtra was blind from birth. Unfortunately, he was also bereft of spiritual vision. He knew very well that his sons were equally blind in the matter of religion, and he was sure that they could never reach an understanding with the Pandavas, who were all pious since birth. Still, he was doubtful about the influence of the place of pilgrimage, and Sanjaya could understand his motive in asking about the situation of the battlefield. Sanjaya wanted, therefore, to encourage the despondent king and thus assured him that his sons were not going to make any sort of compromise under the influence of the holy place. Sanjaya therefore informed the king that his son Duryodhana, after seeing the military force of Pandavas, at once went to the commander-in-chief Dronacharya to inform him of the positions. Although Duryodhana is mentioned as a king, he still had to go to the commander in account of the seriousness of the situation. He was therefore quite effectively a politician, but Duryodhana, diplomatic veneer, could not disguise the fear he felt when he saw the military regiment of the Pandavas.
So, from this purport, we understand that Duryodhana was both spiritually as well as materially blind. Obviously, he had failed in his duty to groom his children as devotees. Sorry, did I say Duryodhana? Yes. I meant Dhritarashtra. So, in the 5th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, in the 5th chapter, text 18, Lord Rishabdev mentions a very famous verse where he says, one should not become a guru. Guru na sasya, swajana na sasya. Pita na sasya, janani na sasya, Daivam na sasya, na patischa sasyan, na mochayet yah samupeta mrityum. Lord Rishabhdev is saying, one should not become a guru. Guru na sasya. Don't become a guru. Guru na sasya, swajana na satya. Don't become anybody's relative. Swajana means our own friends and relatives. Don't develop all these friendships and relations. Pitana sasya. Don't become a father. Jananina sasya. Don't become a wife, mother. And then Daivam na sasya. Don't become even a worshipable demigod. Na patischa sasyan. Or nor become a husband if you cannot deliver your dependence. Na mochayed. Samupeta mrityu. Mochayed comes from the word moksha. Unless you can liberate your dependence, do not accept any dependence. Don't enter married life without taking the responsibility. Bottom line, that whatever children that we will produce, we will ensure that they become Krishna consciousness and they are on their path back home, back to Godhead. So this is a verse which is given by Lord Rishabhdev in the 5th canto, 5.5.18. So it may be worth remembering that verse. So that is why in our temple, the parents, even we have a Melbourne Mahaprabhu Mandir, we have a lot of Bhakti Vriksha programs. Then we have Bhakti Sastri, Bhakti Vaibhav courses for the parents. And when these Bhakti Vrikshas are also happening, parallelly we also have Bhakta Prahalad school for the children. So while the parents are attending something, the children are also attending some class. For example, at 5 o'clock on every Saturday, we have a dance program. Some Matatis are conducting this program, and there are different age groups, right? Pardon? At 4 o'clock also there is one, there is 5 o'clock one. So it is a duty as parents that we encourage our children to associate with other devotee children all the time. We should not keep our child insulated from the community. They must go ahead. Now, for being able to make our children associate with children of other devotees, then we must have a relationship with those devotees. If we always keep haggling in our relationships, then we will say, no, my son will not play with that person's son because I just can't get along with that mother. So therefore, whether we like or not, even as a duty, at least if we cannot act on the love platform with everyone, at least on the etiquette platform, we must maintain relationships to begin with, which eventually must fructify into genuine relationships. But then otherwise what will happen is that we will insulate ourselves from the community. Our children also have to bear the effect of the politics that is happening between parents. So it is very important to remember this point. Now, to the extent that we have that mentality, to that extent we are also Dhritarashtra, not really looking at the welfare of our children.
But it's very hard for you.
Yes.
Just to note in that, because acting is very hard.
Yes, acting is very hard, yes. So, what is Duryodhana doing here? Srila Prabhupada uses the word diplomatic veneer. Diplomatic veneer means putting on a veneer is a coating, right? Veneer coating in the house we do like that. Diplomatic veneer. But actually it is said that diplomacy or putinati, it's called putinati in Bhakti. Putinati is not acceptable in the realm of, it has got no place in devotional life. So there has to be a genuine effort that we all have to put, myself included. I am also having the same problem, but Srila Prabhupada mentions that all of us have to constantly put effort towards developing genuine Vaishnava relationships with one another. Yes, there can be disagreements, but there should not be envy. There can be disagreements. Disagreements are there even in the spiritual world. Radharani, Lalita camp thinks one thing, and Chandravali camp thinks something else. That will definitely be there. But still, we have to get along with all the differences and how we can accept each other's differences and serve the Lord. Of course, unless we do that, the more we get caught in all these politics, the more we will discuss this at home, the more children will hear it, and children will also grow up in the same mentality. So at least we have to insulate our children from our own bad politics. Right? So here, Duryodhana, Dhritarashtra's bad position, that he was not able to give his children any values, is coming to the forefront. Now, why Duryodhana went to the commander? So Duryodhana is walking to Dronacharya. Why he is walking to the commander? Despite being the king, he is walking, is mentioned in the next verse. So let's read text 3. O my teacher, behold the great army of the sons of Pandu, so expertly arranged by your intelligent disciple, the son of Drupal. Yeah.
In the previous verse, Prabhuji, why is Duryodhana mentioned as king? Because
why is Duryodhana mentioned as?
Why is he mentioned as a king? Because he was actually not the king at that point in time.
Yeah, Duryodhana was the son of a king, so he was all, because Dhritarashtra, his father, was blind. So anyway, nobody looked at Dhritarashtra as a king anyway. So Duryodhana was as good as a king because he was giving direction, thought leadership to the Kaurava strategy, if you like. So he was almost accepted as a king. Bhishma was there. Yeah, he had actually taken over. Bhishma was also there. Actually, Bhishma is much more senior in that sense to Duryodhana. But Bhishma was in a completely different mood. Bhishma was fighting this battle itself for some different purpose, which may not be as much revealed in the Bhagavad-gītā itself. It is revealed in the Srimad Bhagavatam first canto. So the mood of Bhishma is completely different than the mood of Duryodhana. Bhishma is in the midst of that battlefield, but who is Bhishma at the end of the day? And we are going to see that in the ensuing verses. Bhishma is actually a Mahajana. Bhishma is there for a completely different reason in that battlefield, which we will see. So for all practical purposes, yes, Duryodhana was the king, and as Emmanuel pointed out, he rightfully adopted that role as well.
Yes, that is why the Pandavas were sent for exile after the Gandhi. He had taken over the kingdom.
He has taken over the kingdom.
And Bhishma had taken him out never to sit on the throne. He had taken him out to be one of the kings. He was never the king anymore.
Is that clear? Text 3. Oh my teacher, we'll go a bit fast because we have to now complete 11 verses. Oh my teacher, behold the great army of the sons of Pandu, so expertly arranged by your intelligent disciple, the son of Drupal. So here, there is an interesting Sanskrit being used here, Dhimata Tava Shishyana, which means Duryodhana is now going to Dronacharya and telling him, look how your intelligent disciple, and who is he referring to?
Arjuna.
Who is Drishtadyumna? Son of Drupal. So he is saying, look how the son of Drupal is very nicely arranging on the side of the Pandavas, how nicely he is handling things on the side of the Pandavas. So he deliberately does that to incite Dronacharya, because Dronacharya had an old enmity with Drupal. It is mentioned that Drupal and Dronacharya were together studying in the same Gurukul in childhood, where Drupal was very wealthy and Dronacharya was not. And Drupal was a king, like that. So in their friendship one day, Drupal inadvertently told Dronacharya that I will give you half my kingdom when we grow up, like that. And when Dronacharya later on, when he was in poverty, when he didn't have even money to buy milk for his children, then he went to Drupal and asked him for some money, for a cow. Actually, sorry, yeah, he went and asked for a cow. And Drupal said friendship can only be amongst equals, and he asked him to go away from there. And this deeply hurt Dronacharya. He came, and then he eventually became the guru of the archery guru of the Pandavas. And then he requested the Pandavas that go and capture this Drupal and get half his kingdom for him. So they captured and he got half the kingdom. Now ever since, Drupal was against Dronacharya, and he did a yajna after that to beget a son who will eventually kill Dronacharya. And that son was Drishtadyumna. But see the beauty here. Even amidst all this politics, even in this battle, there is prevalence of Vedic culture, which is coming across in the next 3 or 4 verses. There is strong Vedic culture even in battle, where Dronacharya, knowing very well that Drupal's whole purpose of his birth is to kill me, he still becomes the guru he teaches him archery and how to fight with weapons. So we can see the quality of Dronacharya. Dronacharya is a Brahmana actually. So this is the quality of a Brahmana. What are the qualities of a Brahmana? It is mentioned as Samo Damas Tapa Shaucham. Sama means what? Peaceful. Samo Damas Tapa Shaucham. Austere, clean, honest. In that verse, this is in Bhagavad-gītā 18.42. So one of the qualities of a Brahmana in that verse mentioned is Arjavam. Arjavam means what? Honesty. So Dronacharya is exemplifying honest behavior. So he is very sincerely and truthfully teaching, knowing very well that this person may be the cause of my death tomorrow. That point is coming. So Duryodhana is quoting that and he is going to Drona and taunting him. See how this fellow has arranged, the son of Drupad. So here Duryodhana's envious nature is coming to the forefront. And at the same time, Duryodhana is worried that Dronacharya may show some kind of a leniency towards his students. So that fear is also there. So there's a lot of complex emotions that is running in Dhritarashtra's mind and in Duryodhana's mind. Text 4. Here in this army are many heroic bowmen, equal in fighting to Bhima and Arjuna. Great fighters like Yuyudhana, Virata and Drupad. There are also great heroic powerful fighters like Drishtaketu, Chekitana, Kashiraj, Purujit, Kunti Bhoja and Saibhya. There are the mighty Yudhamanyu, the very powerful Uttamauja, the son of Shubhadra and the sons of Draupadi. All these warriors are great chariot fighters. But for your information, O best of the Brahmanas, let me tell you about the captains who are especially qualified to lead my military force. So, we are seeing that on one hand, he is taunting Dronacharya for having given this Vidya. On the other hand, he is also inciting Dronacharya by mentioning Drupad. Now, Dronacharya, his best student was Arjuna, who was on the other side. So here in these verses, if you see, he is specifically mentioning names of Arjuna and Bhima. Now why is he doing that? One is because Arjuna was his favorite student. So he was obviously, he is having that feeling that, you know, Dronacharya may be a little bit lenient towards Arjuna, like that. Also, he is one sense reminding Dronacharya that this is the same Arjuna. Arjuna actually had a pastime wherein he fought with Lord Shiva himself. Right? Arjuna fought with Lord Shiva and the fighting was such that Arjuna actually was victorious. And then Lord Shiva gave him celestial weapons, lot of very powerful weapons. So he wanted to remind Drona that look, this Arjuna is having these kind of weapons directly given to him by Lord Shiva. So he is reminding him of that. Also, he is drawing attention towards Bhima. Now why is Bhima very special in this whole pastime? Is because it is said that what to speak of the Kauravas, even the Pandavas side were very scared of Bhima and Bhima's anger. Even the Pandavas did not go near Bhima when he was angry. What to speak of Kauravas? Because Bhima had taken 3 vows. What are the 3 vows of Bhima? The first vow was that I will kill each and every son of Dhritarashtra. Not even one. I will kill all of them. That was his first vow. In fact, so much determined was he in his vow that the Pandavas had so much opportunities to kill some of the Kauravas, but they said, no, we will reserve for Bhima, otherwise he will get upset. So we will not kill. No, so much it was. The second vow was that he said that I will break Duryodhana's thigh. Because what Duryodhana had done was, he had taken off his whatever dhoti or whatever he might be wearing at that time to reveal his thigh when he called Draupadi. He said, come and sit on my lap. In Tamil also, I heard my grandmother used to say, Todaya tattada, we say. Todaya tattada means don't do like this in your lap. It is coming from this pastime. It brings inauspiciousness in the family if we do that. So Duryodhana at that time said, Bhima said that thigh which you patted at that time, I'll break that thigh. So this was the second vow. I'll kill all of them, I'll break your thigh. The third one was, I will tear Dushasana's chest I'll remove his heart out and I'll drink his blood and I'll wash Draupadi's hair with the blood of Dushasan. Why? Because Dushasan pulled Draupadi by the hair. Again, I remember my grandmother used to say that in childhood, even playfully, when we used to play with the cousin sisters, childhood, we used to pull the hair. He said, no. Even if you want to play with a girl, never pull a lady by the hair. It brings inauspiciousness in the family. So there are a lot of these Vedic cultural points that are coming through in this section. Also, in verse 7, he suddenly says, but for your information, the focus is now on the Pandava side thus far, on Bhima and Arjuna. Now he's shifting the focus. He's saying, but for your information, O best of the Brahmanas, let me tell you about the captains who are especially qualified to lead my military force. Now he is shifting the focus to the Kauravas. Just to give some assurance that, we are also very strong, by the way. So he is showing this diplomacy time and again. There are personalities like you. There are personalities like you, Bhishma, Karna, Kripa, Ashwathama, Vikarna, and the son of Somadatta, called Bhurishrava, who are always victorious in battle. There are many other heroes who are prepared to lay down their lives for my sake. All of them are well equipped with different kinds of weapons and all are experienced in military science. So, from this verse onwards, he is now starting to explain, he is quoting the strength of the Kaurava. Suddenly, he is doing that. And in verse 8, Gurujan Prabhu draws out a very interesting line from there, where he says that he is showing diplomacy also now to Dronacharya. He says, Bhavan Bhishman cha Karnascha in the verse. So he is addressing Drona first. He is addressing people like yourself and Bhishma and so and so people. Can you see that verse again? There are verse 8. There are personalities like. So he is starting with who? He is starting with Drona. Like you. Then he is saying Bhishma. Now why is he doing that? So it is being pointed out that Duryodhan was very well aware how Bhishma thinks. So though Bhishma was the senior grandsire in that sense, his name should have been taken first in the list of merits. The most powerful person should be quoted first. But still, why is he quoting Drona? That is because of his diplomacy. He knows that if he quotes Bhishma's name first, Drona might take little bit of offense, because he was directly there, powerful, and he has already taunted Drona and incited him enough. So he wants to be a little bit careful with Drona. But he also knows that if he takes Drona's name first, Bhishma would never take offense. Why? Because Bhishma is who? He is a Mahajan. Who knows Varnashrama Dharma better than Bhishma? If you read the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, at the end of the battlefield of Kurukshetra, Bhishma is lying on the arrows. That pastime is going on nowadays in the Srimad Bhagavatam class. Bhishma is explaining Varnashrama Dharma to Maharaj Yudhishthira. Krishna himself is telling you, learn from this person. So Bhishma knows the tenets of Varnashrama Dharma very well. So Bhishma will never take offense if Drona's name is taken first and his name is taken second. Why? Because Drona is a Brahmana, whereas Bhishma is a Kshatriya. So Brahmana's name should be taken first. So he is thinking like that. So thinking all that, then he is saying this verse, saying there are personalities like you, Bhishma, Karna, Kripa, Ashwathama, Vikarna, and so on and so forth. So there he is. So his mind is shown. Now, here there are many points that are coming through. That Karna also is being mentioned here after Bhishma. Now Karna had vowed that he will not fight till Bhishma dies. Why? Karna is a very peculiar character again. Karna has his own set of ideals and false ego. Karna says that I am very powerful and I know that I can kill the Pandavas, but if this old man, ends up killing the Pandavas and I also end up assisting him, all the credits will go to that person. No credit will come to me there. So I will not fight till grandfather Bhishma is killed.
Isn't it the other way around? Bhishma said, until I die, he cannot fight. So Bhishma stopped him from fighting.
Bhishma also took that.
Bhishma stopped him from taking part in the battle until he dies.
Okay. Now, Bhurijan Prabhu writes in his commentary that it was quite the other way.
Okay.
Karna took the vow that he will not fight till Bhishma dies. So I am not sure where this is mentioned, but yeah, so maybe you can let us know. Maybe it happened both ways.
Karna's birth was not confirmed. I mean, it was not confirmed that he was Kshatriya.
Pardon?
I mean, Karna still had some.
Somehow Bhishma says something in the court and that insults Karna. When Karna takes this decision that I am not fighting Bhishma.
No, Mother.
Basically because of his birth.
The reason behind this is, in Mahabharata, Bhishma says when he was glorifying both the parties, he will speak about the strengths of Kauravas as well as the Pandavas. That time Bhishma calls Karna as Atirada, means half. And this agitates Karna very much. Because he gives particular reason, because he don't have, because of the curse of his mother and his guru, he will not have the power to, utilize Brahma, so many other weapons which he will lose. And also, the mother earth also will curse and he will quote. Because of these reasons, he is an Atirada and this makes Karna very angry and worship the power.
In Mahabharata serial they say Bhishma will take commander-in-chief role provided Karna doesn't participate in fight during his
It's from Mahabharata.
So in the last class, we had mentioned that Srila Prabhupada's books will be there. Not Ramanand Sagar or So whatever Prabhupada is writing and disciples of Prabhupada are writing, that will form that is a given in the class. That will form the basis of the truth. I understand because I also grew up watching that. I used to run to the television set, but no more. Now we are not watching that. Now we will understand through ISKCON devotees who have written Mahabharata. So let's move on. So Karna had vowed not to fight, that is one. So we see a credit seeking mentality in Karna. Also, Vikarna is mentioned. Kripa, Ashwatthama and Vikarna. Vikarna incidentally was the only one person from the Kaurava camp who opposed Draupadi's modesty being outraged. So, Duryodhana was very fearful that there will be defection, that Vikarna may go on the other side. So this fear was also there constantly in his mind as the commander. And yeah. So eventually, so a lot of complex emotions are there in his mind. Further, Salya was the charioteer of Karna. Eventually, he became the commander-in-chief later on, just mentioned. So, this Salya actually was very friendly towards the Pandavas. He was on the Pandava side. But what happened was, when Salya was travelling to meet the Pandavas before the battle of Kurukshetra to show allegiance to the Pandavas, along the way, Duryodhana deliberately organized a lot of, what is that called? Hotel service? Something like that. He organized accommodation, food, everything. Everything was arranged for him very nicely. Okay. Now, till the time that he reached the Pandavas, his complete mood changed. Because of all that. He said, no, Duryodhana has given me such facilities, nice, so I will join the Kaurava camp. Just like people defect from Infosys to Satyam and TCS. They give better perks, this fellow is giving reimbursement for car allowance. So like that, the same mentality is being shown in Salya also.
But he was a maternal uncle of Nakul and Sahadeva.
Yeah, Nakul and Sahadeva.
Yeah, so being so close related, so instead of helping the nephews, he
I don't want to sing Bollywood songs here. But there was a Bollywood song where it says, na bibi, na bacha, na baap pada, na. The whole thing is that sabse bada rupaya. So when it comes to the question of facilities and privileges, then relationships are forgotten in this material world. Okay. So Duryodhana's mentality is also shown here of reliance on powerful people on the side of the Kaurava camp. So he is relying on all the fallible soldiers on his side. So Duryodhana thinks that because of the presence of these powerful soldiers, he can win the battle despite Krishna being on the other side. So there are so many points that we can understand from here, that the will of providence cannot be changed despite opulence and power being on our side. Whatever Lord Krishna decides, ultimately only that will prevail. So we cannot change Lord Krishna's plan for us by having a by systematic savings plan, provident fund, investments, etc. That kind of mentality. On one hand, Duryodhana's mentality of relying on all these powerful people, we are also carrying in our lives. We rely more on our position, bank balance, everything to save us. But the will of providence finally prevails over everyone. So that is a Shastric point that we can take from here. Also, Lord Krishna is on the chariot of Arjuna, so Arjuna is going to be victorious. So as long as we keep Lord Krishna in the chariot of our tongue, then victory will always be on the side of the devotees under any adverse situation. So that is another point. And also we understand that Lord Krishna is ultimately the supreme proprietor and our maintenance. So the essence of Bhagavad-gītā is surrender to Lord Krishna. So devotees do not rely on such fallible soldiers. Devotees rely only on Krishna. That is why when the choice was given, Arjuna was very happy to go with Krishna, whereas Duryodhana wanted Krishna's army. Krishna's army was also there on the other side, right? And therefore he saw the huge army, and his whole idea about winning the war was completely based on his material strength. Whereas the Pandavas knew that whatever Duryodhana may do, Krishna is on their side, therefore that side will eventually be victorious. So that is a application for all of us in our lives. Verse, where were we? Yeah, verse 10. Our strength is immeasurable and we are perfectly protected by grandfather Bhishma, whereas the strength of the Pandavas, carefully protected by Bhima, is limited. So again we see that he is underestimating the strength of the Pandavas, relying more on his army strength. All of you now must give full support to grandfather Bhishma as you stand at your respective strategic points of entrance into the phalanx of the army. So, there are two meanings of the word aparyaptam. There is a word aparyaptam which is used in text 11. So, what it means is, it has got two meanings. In the scriptures, there are two meanings to that. One is called as immeasurable and one is exactly the opposite of that, which is insufficient. So aparyaptam can mean both. So Bhurijan Prabhu is pointing out that Duryodhana is very cleverly using the word aparyaptam. It means immeasurable because Bhishma is there on their side, and it means insufficient because though everybody is on the side, he is very concerned with split loyalties. He believes that the loyalties will go on the other side. So that is another point that is coming here. And in one sense, by saying all this, Duryodhana is actually minimizing the position of Bhishma there. Of course, as we said earlier, Bhishma has got entirely different mood on the battlefield. He is in the mood of chivalry. He is in chivalry ras. He wants to, his goal is only one in the battlefield, that Lord Krishna will show anger at him and come charging towards him. Just for that one thing, he is standing in there on the battlefield. Of course, a material reason is given that Bhishma is having gratitude towards Duryodhana because at the end of the day, Duryodhana maintained him. But Bhishma could have maintained himself. He is much more powerful than any Kaurava. So, there is a higher understanding which Srimad Bhagavatam offers, which may not be very evident from the Bhagavad-gītā. So therefore study of Bhagavad-gītā should be along with Srimad Bhagavatam, because there are many things of mood that are revealed in the Srimad Bhagavatam which directly may not come only by reading the Bhagavad-gītā. And as we said, mentioned earlier, later on the same Bhishma is instructing Varnashrama Dharma to Yudhishthira. So we can see the envious mentality of Duryodhana. So, by having an envious mentality, we can never understand Mahajanas like Bhishma. So, if we have to understand great personalities, We have to completely become free of envy. That is called as Nirmatsarana. Matsara means envy. Nirmatsarana means completely free from envy. Otherwise we cannot understand great personalities. So in gist of today's class, there are two points that we need to carry. One is the Lord's protection, because the Lord is sitting on the side of the Pandavas. Devotees who surrender to the Lord's protection are assured victory regardless of any material odds. Apparently our side may seem very weak, but Lord Krishna is on that side, so victory will be on our side. And the Lord is an intimate servant. The Lord here is actually, through all this situation that Duryodhana is doing, the Lord is just sitting on the chariot of Arjuna. So the Bhagavad-gītā will eventually now introduce Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as the intimate servant of his devotees. So the focus is right now completely on Duryodhana, and going forward the focus is now going to gradually shift to the Pandava side and Arjuna, and then Krishna's instruction to Arjuna, which we will see in the ensuing classes. Okay. We'll stop here. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. So in the next class, the homework is verse 1.12 to verse 1.20. So please read and come. And if you have not got a chance to read 1.1 to 1.11, please read that also. Otherwise things will pile up before your exam.